The glass door swung open with violent force, and Czech stumbled onto the hot pavement, his worn-out shirt catching the edge of the cafe entrance. Laughter erupted from inside. "Beggar. You think you can sit where decent people eat?" the security guard spat, dusting his hands as if contaminated. Czech didn't respond. He straightened slowly, adjusting the frayed cloth bag on his shoulder. His beard was unkempt, his sandals held together by wire, and his trousers carried the stains of countless unwashed days. But his eyes held something the crowd didn't notice. Dignity. Calculation. Pain. The streets of Lagos buzzed with impatient horns and hurried footsteps. Traders called out prices, children weaved through traffic selling water, and nobody, absolutely nobody, looked at the man in rags twice. Nobody except her. Amara's food stall sat tucked between a pharmacy and a tailor's shop, barely noticeable unless you were hungry or desperate. The wooden sign above read, "Mama Amara's Kitchen, where the heart eats fast." Smoke rose from her small grill where plantains sizzled beside yam porridge. She looked up from serving a customer and saw him, hovering near the edge of her stall, hesitant, hungry. "Brother, come," she called gently. "Sit." Czech's stomach betrayed him with a low growl. He approached cautiously, sitting on the wooden bench worn smooth by years of use. I don't have money," he admitted quietly. Amara smiled, the kind of smile that reached tired eyes. "Did I ask for money?" She placed a generous plate before him, jollof rice, fried fish, and soft plantains. "Eat fast. We are all human." As Czech ate, he watched her. She moved with efficient grace, serving customers, wiping tables, counting coins into a small tin. Her wrapper was faded but clean, her headscarf simple but dignified. A small cross hung at her neck. "You're kind," Czech said between mouthfuls. "People don't do this anymore. My grandmother used to say, feed a stranger, you might be feeding an angel." She laughed softly. "Though I'm not sure angels come this hungry." For the first time in weeks, Czech felt something close to peace. But across the street, a black Mercedes slowed briefly. The driver's eyes met Czech's for just a second, a flash of recognition, a slight bow of the head, before the car disappeared into traffic. Amara didn't notice. But Czech did. And he knew his time was running out. 3 weeks passed like water finding its course. Czech returned to Amara's stall every day. At first, just to eat. Then to help. He fixed the leaking zinc roof that dripped during rain. He organized her scattered firewood. He even taught the children who gathered nearby after school, drawing mathematics in the dust with a stick. 14 times 7, he asked a boy named Tand. 98, the child shouted triumphantly. Amara watched from her cooking station, stirring soup with a wooden spoon. Her heart felt strange, light and heavy at once. "You're wasting your time on a beggar," her cousin Ngozi said, arriving with her designer handbag and judgmental eyes. "Look at you, feeding strangers when you can't even pay next month's rent." "He's not just a stranger anymore," Tamara replied quietly. "Then what is he?" "Your charity project." Ngozi laughed sharply. "Wake up, Amara. Men like that bring nothing but trouble." But Amara saw something different. She saw how Czech's hands, though rough, moved with unexpected refinement when he wrote. How his words carried education his appearance denied. How children trusted him instantly. That evening, as Amara closed her stall, Czech helped her pack. "Why do you stay here?" she asked suddenly. "You could go anywhere." Czech paused, a crate of empty bottles in his hands. "Maybe I'm exactly where I need to be." Their eyes met. Something unspoken passed between them, fragile as morning mist, real as the ground beneath their feet. As Amara walked home, she didn't see the black Mercedes parked 3 shops down. Didn't see the driver step out and hand check a phone. "Sir, your mother has called 14 times. The board meeting is tomorrow." Check looked at the phone, then at Amara's disappearing figure. "Tell them I'm still researching." The driver's face remained neutral, but his eyes held understanding. "And if Chief Odegu asks about the marriage arrangement with Senator Okofor's daughter, tell him," Check said slowly, "that I'm testing a different theory about wealth." The community center was packed for the local council's fundraising event. Colored lights hung from poles, a live band played high-life music, and the air smelled of suya and celebration. Amara had come reluctantly, dragged by friends who insisted she needed a break. She wore her best wrapper, deep blue with gold patterns, and her hair was braided simply. Check stood in the shadows near the back, still in his beggar's disguise, watching her laugh with the other women. Then the trouble started. "Look. They let a street rat into the event." A voice rang out. It was Chief Akana, a local politician known for his cruelty. "Security. Remove this filth." Heads turned. Fingers pointed. Check stood motionless as 3 security men approached. Amara's heart dropped. She pushed through the crowd. "Wait. He's my friend." "Your friend?" Chief Akana laughed mockingly. "Amara the teacher keeps company with beggars. No wonder you're still single." The crowd erupted in laughter. Phones lifted, recording the humiliation. Amara's face burned with shame, but she stood firm. "His appearance doesn't define his worth." "Really?" Chief Akana stepped closer, emboldened by the crowd. "Then let me educate you about worth, small girl. Worth is measured by what you own, what you control, what you give," the Check interrupted, his voice cutting through the noise like a blade. "Not what you take." The laughter faltered. Something in his tone had shifted, no longer humble, no longer hidden. Check stepped into the center of the floor. Slowly, deliberately, he removed the tattered cap from his head. Straightened his posture. Let the disguise fall away like a mask. "My name is Chikazi Odegu, son of Chief Emeka Odegu. Heir to Odegu Holdings, 17 companies across West Africa, assets totaling 43 billion naira." Silence crashed over the crowd like a wave. Chief Akana's face drained of color. Phones that had been recording mockery now captured shock. "For 5 weeks, I walked these streets in rags," Check continued, his voice steady and clear. "I was spat on. Kicked. Ignored. Laughed at. Every restaurant threw me out. Every shop chased me away. Every person saw my clothes and decided my value." He turned to Amara, who stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. "Every person except one." He walked toward her slowly. She had nothing, barely enough to feed herself. Yet she fed me. She saw past the rags. Past the dirt. Past the test. Amara's hand covered her mouth, overwhelmed. Check knelt before her on the dusty ground, and the crowd gasped. "Amara, you taught me that true wealth isn't counted in banks. It's counted in kindness when kindness costs you everything." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. "Will you let me spend my life learning from you?" The ring inside caught the colored lights, a simple gold band with a single diamond, elegant and honest. Amara couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. The world had turned upside down in seconds. "Yes," she whispered finally. Then louder, through tears and laughter, "Yes." The crowd erupted, some in genuine joy, others in stunned disbelief. Chief Akana slipped away quietly, his humiliation complete. But as Check placed the ring on Amara's finger, neither of them saw the storm gathering on the horizon. The Odigu mansion sat on 3 acres in Victoria Island, its white pillars gleaming in the morning sun. Inside, Madame Grace Odigu paced her Italian marble living room like a caged lioness. A food vendor. Her voice could cut glass. My son, my only son, wants to marry a common food vendor. Jack stood by the window, still wearing the simple clothes he'd worn to the proposal. She's a teacher, mother. And a tailor. And the kindest person I've ever met. Kindness doesn't build empires. Madame Odigu slammed her hand on the mahogany table. We had an arrangement with Senator Okafor. His daughter Adiz, educated in London, connected, sophisticated. Sophisticated enough to walk past a hungry man without a glance, Czech replied quietly. I tested her too, mother. She failed before I even spoke. This isn't about your romantic experiment. His mother's voice cracked with frustration. This is about legacy. Duty. The family name. Then watch me honor that name by choosing character over connections. For 3 days, the battle raged. Business partners called, expressing concern. Board members suggested postponing Czech's CEO appointment. Society magazines ran headlines, Billionaire heir's shocking choice, love or lunacy. Meanwhile, Amara's world was crumbling differently. Her small room behind the stall became a prison. Strangers camped outside with cameras. Tabloid reporters offered money for her side of the story. Her students' parents whispered in corners. She trapped him, the market women said loudly enough for her to hear. Used juju. Village girl tactics. Ngozi visited, her expression conflicted. Amara, people are saying terrible things. Maybe you should reconsider. Reconsider love. Amara asked, exhausted. Reconsider whether you can survive in his world. Ngozi's voice softened with genuine worry. His mother will destroy you. Society will never accept you. Is love worth that price? That night, Amara couldn't sleep. She walked to Chike's stall, their stall, and sat alone in the darkness. The weight of 2 worlds pressed down on her chest. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number, you're ruining him. If you loved him, you'd let him go. Then another, a gold digger. And another, his mother is right. You're not enough. Amara closed her eyes. In her mind, she saw Chike smile. His proposal. The promise of a future together. Then she saw the empire he was born to lead. The mother who despised her. The society that would cage her in judgment forever. By dawn, she had made her decision. She left a note pinned to the stall's door. Some loves are too big for small hearts to hold. Forgive me. You deserve your crown. When Chike arrived that morning, excited to introduce Amara to the company board, he found only locked doors and silence. She was gone. Chike's world shattered quietly, the way glass breaks underwater. He searched everywhere, her room, empty. Her school, resigned from. Her friends, sworn to silence or truly ignorant. It was as if Amara had dissolved into air. Come home, his mother pleaded, gentler now, seeing his devastation. Take your position. Lead the company. Time will heal this. But Czech did something nobody expected. He walked away from it all. I'm resigning from the CEO position, he announced at the emergency board meeting. His voice was calm, final. My sister Ada can lead until I return. If I return. Madame Odigu stood abruptly. You would throw away your father's legacy. For a woman who abandoned you. She didn't abandon me, mother. We pushed her away. Czech met his mother's eyes. And father's legacy isn't buildings and bank accounts. It's integrity. He always said, a man who cannot choose his own path is already lost. He left the boardroom and didn't look back. Months passed like seasons through a window, slowly, inevitably. Czech traveled from village to village, asking questions, following thin threads of rumors. He wore simple clothes, drove a modest car, and carried Amara's note folded in his pocket until the creases threatened to tear. Meanwhile, Madame Odigu found her own emptiness growing. The house felt too large. The parties felt hollow. Even victory felt bitter. She had won the battle but poisoned the peace. One afternoon, her driver got lost taking her to a charity function. They ended up in a small village 3 hours outside Lagos, asking for directions at a rural health clinic. As Madame Odigu stepped out of the car, irritated by the delay, she heard children singing. Following the sound, she found a small classroom under a mango tree. And there was Amara. Pregnant. Glowing despite her simple wrapper and dust-covered feet. Teaching children to read, her voice patient and warm. Madame Odigu's breath caught in her throat. She watched, hidden behind the car, as Amara helped a struggling child sound out words. Watched her share her lunch with 3 students who had none. Watched her laugh, genuine, unguarded, beautiful. She volunteers here every day, the clinic director said, appearing beside Madame Odigu. Teaches for free. Helps in the medical ward. Even delivers babies when the nurse is overwhelmed. She smiled. We call her our angel. The baby, Madame Odigu whispered. Is it? Your grandchild, the director confirmed gently. She never said who the father was. But we're not blind. Madame Odigu's knees weakened. She gripped the car door. All her life, she had measured worth in titles, connections, bank statements. Now, watching this woman she'd rejected teach hungry children under a tree while carrying her grandchild, she finally understood what wealth truly meant. That evening, Madame Odigu did something she hadn't done in 30 years. She cried. Then she made a phone call. Check, she said when he answered. I found her. And son. I was wrong about everything. The village looked like something from a forgotten dream, red earth, thatched roofs, and the kind of peace that money can't manufacture. Chike's hands trembled on the steering wheel as he parked beneath the acacia trees. His mother sat beside him, uncharacteristically quiet. The mango tree, she pointed. That's where she teaches. Chike saw her before she saw him. Amara sat on a woven mat, surrounded by children, a book open in her lap. Her pregnancy showed clearly now, 6 months, maybe 7. She wore no jewelry, no makeup. Just a simple yellow wrapper and that same cross necklace. She was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. One of the children noticed him first. Teacher, a visitor. Amara looked up. Time stopped. Her book fell from her hands. Her eyes widened, filled instantly with tears. She tried to stand but couldn't move, frozen between shock and joy and fear. Chike walked toward her slowly, afraid she might vanish if he moved too quickly. The children scattered, sensing something sacred unfolding. You left, he said simply when he reached her. I had to, Amara whispered. Your world. I didn't belong. My world is wherever you are. Chike knelt beside her, his hand hovering over her belly. May I? She nodded, tears streaming freely now. His palm pressed gently against the curve of their child. He felt movement, a kick, strong and certain. I searched everywhere, Chike said, his voice breaking. Every village, every town. I couldn't breathe without you. I'm sorry, Amara sobbed. I thought I was protecting you. Your mother, the company, everything you were meant to be. I was meant to be yours, he interrupted firmly. Everything else is just noise. Behind them, Madame Odegu approached slowly, her expensive shoes collecting red dust. The children watched her warily, this elegant stranger in their sacred space. She stopped before Amara, who instinctively tensed. I came to apologize, Madame Odegu said, her voice stripped of its usual authority. I measured you by all the wrong standards. I saw your clothes and missed your character. Your poverty and missed your richness. She glanced at the children, the clinic, the teaching materials scattered around. You gave my son something I never could, a compass that points toward truth. Amara stared, speechless. I'm asking, Madame Odegu continued, kneeling despite her expensive wrapper, if you can forgive a foolish old woman who confused wealth with worth. The silence stretched like dawn breaking. Then Amara reached out and took the older woman's hand. We all get lost sometimes, she said gently. What matters is finding our way home. 3 weeks later, the wedding took place in that same village. Not in a 5-star hotel. Not with society's cameras flashing. But under the mango tree where Amara taught, with red earth beneath their feet and the whole village celebrating. Madame Odegu wore traditional attire and danced with the village women, laughing louder than anyone. The board members who attended looked awkward in their suits, slowly learning to remove their shoes and join the joy. Czech and Amara exchanged vows simply, honestly. I promise, Czech said, holding both her hands, to see you always as you are, not as society defines you, not as wealth measures you, but as your heart reveals you. I promise, Amara replied, to remind you that kingdoms built on love outlast empires built on gold. The ceremony ended with traditional dancing, barefoot, unpolished, real. As the sun set over the village, painting everything in shades of amber and crimson, Czech pulled Amara close. Do you regret it? She whispered. Giving up the company for months, the scandal, everything. Czech kissed her forehead. I gave up nothing. I gained everything. Nearby, a child who had learned to read from Amara's lessons picked up a piece of chalk and wrote on a wall. He who tests love with riches may lose both, but he who loves with truth gains a kingdom unseen. Years later, people would ask Czech about the most important business decision he ever made. He would smile and say, choosing to be poor enough to see what poverty couldn't hide, a rich heart in a world full of empty pockets. And Amara, sitting beside him with their children playing nearby, would add softly, a love isn't tested by what you have. It's proven by what you're willing to lose. In the end, Czech returned to lead Odegu Holdings. But he led differently, with Amara's wisdom tempering his decisions, her compassion shaping his policies. The company prospered not despite his choices but because of them. Because he had learned what few billionaires ever discover, that true wealth wears no crown, demands no applause, and hides in the smallest acts of kindness, waiting to be found by those brave enough to look beneath the surface. The beggar in fine words had found his fortune. And it was priceless.